This meeting is now being recorded.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the QIO Collaborative. We don't have too much to go over today, so that will leave quite a bit of time for questions and discussion at the end. On the agenda for today, we have the purpose of this meeting, updates and reminders, we'll review results, and then have discussion. So the purpose of this QIO Collaborative is to bring everyone using the QIO together to provide updates, review statewide results, offer resources and clarifications, and share and learn from each other. So how we're each using the QIO and what we can learn from each other with that. For updates, Phase 3 will be joining us in April, which we're really excited about. It's quite a big group. We have Colorado Blue Sky, sorry for the typo, Community Options, CDRC, Horizons, Envision, and Strive. And then another update is that I think we finally have fixed the family chose not to participate issue. So families that declined the family assessment, that child's IFSP should no longer be showing up in your sample list. And if you are still receiving those, go ahead and shoot me an email and we'll take another look. On to reminders. We have the Practice QIO tool available, so make sure to share that with your staff. And let me know if you want a customized practice tool. So one community asked for a tool that only shows acceptable and best practice to make it a little more simplified for their staff. So if you want any kind of customizations like that, just let me know. And there has been some confusion around the closed eligible status. So we include all children with a closed eligible status in our IFSP sample because they should all have an IFSP developed. If an IFSP was never developed, then this child should be closed as closed not enrolled, even if they were found eligible. And you can reference the EI Data System User Guide if you need some more specific information on that. Another update, we have our QIO work group coming up. We have our first meeting this month, and a survey will be sent out to all of you guys to provide feedback, and that will help guide the work that we do. I'll send that survey out today, and please complete by next Monday the 12th if you would like to provide feedback. Some feedback that I've already received that we'll be working into our work group work is more meaningful results, some more details, side-by-side comparison of the specific checkbox items that are being used to rate. So we'll look at if there's a way to incorporate those needs. And then also it's been reported that the IFSP outcome section feels too long and too confusing because of that. So we'll look at that section and see how we can make that more clear. Now on to results. So here we have the aggregate IFSP quality ratings for each section over time. So those different colors include the family assessment, global outcomes, IFSP outcomes, and then the overall quality is in purple. So October to July here only includes phase 1, and July to November includes both phase 1 and 2. So we see a slight dip from June to July, and we would expect that because that's when we brought in phase 2, and we were just collecting their baseline data at that time, while phase 1 had already been using the tool for several months. And despite that dip, we're very excited to see that the quality has been increasing for the most part since July. So we're really seeing some exponential growth in all areas, and we're really, really excited. So good job to everyone. And here we have our percent agreements for November between self-assessment and verification scores. The lower agreement percentages are largely due to isolated situations or incomplete self-assessments. which can pull down the percent agreement. But overall, we're doing really well, and we're really happy with the percentages that we are seeing. We don't have any major concerns here at this time. These are the measurements that we report to CSTAT. The graph on the left shows the percentage of IFSPs that received an overall quality rating of 2 or higher. So here we see a decrease from October to November, but we aren't concerned by this at this point because, as we saw in the last slide, the overall quality rating continues to increase. So, for example, in November we had several IFSPs that received a rating of 1.7, so just below that 2, which is still a very high score for where we're at, but those aren't included in this measurement. The graph on the right shows the percentage of IFSPs that received an IFSP outcome rating of 2 or higher. We are also very excited about this data because it shows that the quality of our IFSP outcomes is continuously growing, and every month we have more IFSP outcomes that we're rating as acceptable or higher. And Lonita says, hooray. Yes, hooray indeed. All very exciting results. I'll pause here. Does anyone have questions, excuse me, on how we are reporting this data between our CSTAT results? Oops. Or the overall results. And if you do, everyone is muted because we had some feedback, so go ahead and type into the chat. Okay. Well, we'll move on. If anyone does have any questions that come up, feel free to type in that chat at any time, and I'll unmute everyone at the end for the discussion. Okay, so now we will look at each section in the checkbox items that are being selected the most often. So for the family assessment section, we only have one not acceptable checkbox that was used often enough to mention here, so that's also very exciting. That one that we still need to work on quite a bit is your family's concerns and priorities are identified as services, domains, or non-functional skills. So a lot of the time we're seeing a great family assessment, a lot of great information, and then we get to the concerns and priorities and we see speech or communication or physical development. So that's an area that we can still work on threading that information through. For the acceptable checkbox items that we're seeing often, we have routine information includes time of day that are going well, seeing that 90% of the time, so almost every IFSP has that. One or more routine provides some information about this child's level of engagement, social interaction, independence, and social relationships, ICER. We're seeing that 88% of the time, which is a huge jump from where we were before. And we have one best practice checkbox item that we're seeing pretty frequently as well. Your family's concerns include issues and concerns noted in the routine information, regardless of the satisfaction rating score. So we're really excited to be seeing some of those best practice criteria met. On to the global outcomes section. In the not acceptable column, we have one or more global outcomes limited to only a few words. And I'm seeing that most of the time for areas where there aren't many concerns. So we used to see no concerns in this area or age appropriate, and that isn't happening anymore, which is great, but it's being replaced just with one or two sentences, so we just want to beef up those areas a little bit more. And then on to the acceptable items. Information in strengths and needs is clearly aligned with the correct global outcome, 69% of the time. Concerns and priorities are represented throughout strengths and needs, 61% of the time. And now the IFSP outcomes section. For the not acceptable checkbox items, we have strategies that aren't appearing to be specific to the family. How will you know when this IFSP outcome is achieved? That still isn't being written as a measurable item a lot of the time, so we have that 50% of the time. And again, to make it measurable, we're looking at over what length of time are we looking for that behavior to be met in order for the outcome to be achieved. Timeline is missing or is only defined by, I'm sorry, I've got this flipped. I just explained the timeline piece. So measurable is how are we making the behavior measurable for the family so that they know that that outcome has been achieved. And then the timeline is over what period of time. So we're seeing that that isn't included 65% of the time. And then for the acceptable items, what would you like to see happen is clearly linked to the family priorities. At least one strategy can be implemented by the family immediately. We're seeing that 94% of the time, which is the highest occurrence that we have. So that's really good that that's being implemented in almost every single IFSP. And what would you like to see happen is necessary for this child's successful participation within his or her routines. And that's a best practice item that's being used 30% of the time, so it's also very exciting. And I mentioned this on our last call, but we are continuing to share QIO results with the Program Initiatives Unit on a monthly basis to help align training with needs that are identified through the Quality IFSP Outcomes Assessment tool. So the family assessment training is one example of how we've used that data to provide training as a response. And a future opportunity will be an IFSP workshop. We don't have too much information on that yet, but it is something that the Program Initiatives Unit is working on, and stay tuned to hear more about that. And that's all that I have for you guys today. So now we'll open it up for some discussion, some questions, and I'll unmute everyone and open it up broadly for now, and then we can ask some questions if no one has anything specific that they want to talk about.
All guests have been unmuted.
Hi, this is Laura up at Foothills Gateway.
Hi, Laura.
Hi. Just a couple pieces of feedback, I suppose, is that we are really glad that you guys are looking at providing the information to us around like how you came to the score. We really feel like that would enable us to understand why the IFSP rating received the rating it does, improve our practices so that we can give specific guidance on how to improve. Right now, honestly, when we're getting the QIO summary, it doesn't mean a lot because we can't see how you scored it or which areas you scored that were different from ours. So it would allow us to more closely align our self-assessment with the state verification around that. So I'm really glad that you guys are looking at that to be part of the process.
Great.
And then secondarily, we are working on being very consistent and subjective, and we're wondering how the state is assuring this as well. Like, is it always the same person completing the verification for each CCB?
So right now it is the same person completing the verification. However, we did share that responsibility and check inter-rater reliability to make sure that we are rating the same across different people. But that is also something that we are working on our end. How do we ensure that that carries forward? So that's something that we're talking about making
Great.
sure we have a good handle on.
Okay, thank you. That's all the
Yeah.
feedback that we have up here in Larimer.
Well, great. Thank you. I appreciate that. Anyone else have any feedback or things that you're currently struggling with that you would like for me to bring to the work group? Has anyone been using the QIO to implement new systems with their process as part of quality improvement? Or do you have a plan to?
Hey, Ashley, it's Beth. We're using our QIO results in some of our file reviews and one-on-one feedback with our staff on a monthly basis to kind of, to talk about the things we saw and the things we want improved. We also last month did at our EI meeting, we looked at our CCD's rating and what some of the best practices are and how we can move towards some of them. So we've been doing that every couple months or so.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, and hopefully as we get the results a little more, make the results more meaningful, hopefully that will help with those processes as well.
And this is Amanda, just quick, just to follow up on Beth, do you find, I don't know if you've gotten any feedback from your service planners, the staff that you've been kind of going and reviewing the QIO with? If that's something that you'd be willing to share with the group. I didn't know if they provided you any feedback in the way of it being beneficial or if there are pieces of it that kind of more tied to their work as well.
Hi, this is Amanda. I think some of the feedback we received were from service coordinators that have been doing this for a while and felt like they just appreciated understanding what was supposed to go in each section of the IFSP. They didn't necessarily feel they had that same understanding from either trainings they went to a while ago or just from the document changing. So they've really felt it helpful to be a guiding tool on what you guys are looking for. I don't know that they felt the trainings explained it as explicitly as the QIO does.
And I would agree that there were even things when we as supervisors started looking at it that we were like, oh, let's add that to our review and initial IFSP training. Or, oh, that's really what we mean by this section and things like that. So I think it's just, like Amanda mentioned, it really enhanced everybody's understanding of what those best practices can look like and given us the opportunity to teach to those a little bit more.
Great. Thanks for sharing, Lee. I think that's really helpful when you kind of think about the specific things that you're either changing or it's giving you different insights. So thank you for sharing that. I think that's great to share with the group.
And Laura said here in the chat that they are using a family assessment checklist that they've developed based on the information that we've provided to them. And Laura, is that for your service coordinators to use? Or are people going out and reviewing? Is that for like practice at the meeting itself or looking at it on paper and making sure they have everything there? special teams consultant observes the family assessment using that checklist. Great.
This is Monica. I just wanted to add that family assessment checklist is on the family assessment Padlet, which is available for all of you guys to access and look at if you want. It was part of that training that was developed for you to use.
Does anyone else have anything that they are doing or planning to do to share some of those ideas with the group? I will say that's something we're doing on our team to help with the alignment between training and the tool, is really looking at those details and making sure that everything is consistent. And if it isn't, evaluating whether we need to modify the tool to meet the expectations that are presented in training, or is there something we're missing in training that we need to beef up a little bit? So we're doing some work on our end to help with that as well. And thank you, Wayla. She posted the link to that to the Padlet, which is where the checklist is located. We do have the Program Initiatives Unit on the call as well. Do you guys have anything that you'd like to share with the group?
I can share something. This is Wayla. We're working hard on our EI fundamentals training, which is going to include updated information regarding IFSP development throughout the process. So we're going to really encourage, well, it's going to be required for new service coordinators, of course, but, you know, we're going to encourage seasoned service coordinators and we may require program managers also to go through the training. In fact, we'll probably ask some of you to review the training for us before we have it totally published and everything. And we're super excited about it because it is going to include that information about the Go For It IFSP process. So, so that's yet to come, and super excited about that. It will be done by June 30th, so I don't know if it'll be totally posted on our learning management system by then yet, but we'll be reaching out to some of you to ask for review of that.
Thank you, Wayla. And Claudia said in the chat that their lead service coordinators are supporting service coordinators by going with them to the meetings, and then after the meeting discussing what was done well and how things can improve based on the QIO information. So that's really great. That's a good way to tie in what's actually happening in the field to what we have documented on paper, and a gap that we hope to be closing as well. So that's a good step in that direction.
So this is Wayla again. Also, the Program Initiatives Unit, it has, we've been trying to observe some real-life IFSPs and going out with some of you to actually look at what that process looks like, and that's been really super helpful for us. And so if we request that of any of you, we hope that you will help us to have that opportunity, because that really helps us to maybe change some things in our training that we need to consider based on, you know, the way things look in real life. So when we are doing that, we're not trying to be monitoring or anything like that. We're just observing and looking for things that are going well, things that need improvement, whether it's from our side with the form or training, or whether it's just a matter of training people to be able to implement the process in a better way and how we can do that. So thank you for that opportunity, and we hope that we'll have more of those to come.
All right, we'll give it another minute here for any final thoughts. And yes, Pat, this is recorded, so I will go ahead and post it and send you the link. All right. Well, I will give you guys some time back, and I will send out that survey link right now, so you can take some time to submit your feedback if you want to. And once again, that survey will be used to guide the work that our work group does. And thank you all for your continuous work with the QIO, and feel free to reach out if you need anything else before our next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.